Oh, fancy meeting you here. And Katherine. Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hi, Katherine.
Are we the only ones here?
Well, yeah, we just opened up. We were just on another line testing the piano with Jonas.
Can I try hitting my drum and see?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
We just talked about that.
I feel like we're backstage. I feel
We
like
are backstage.
we are really broadcasting, aren't we, Mark?
Live casting.
Live
All right,
casting.
let's see what happens here.
Something
Like-
casting.
Okay, can you hear my voice if I'm back here?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So if I keep speaking, can you still hear my voice?
Yes, that's great. It's very different from last week. Why don't you try it sitting down? Because we want to see your face.
Okay. I can back this up this
Sure.
far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk over it now.
Now, if I'm guiding you through a field, are you hearing my voice and the drum?
Yes. And you could probably even come closer, just turn so you're closer to the computer than the drum. If you want to come closer to the computer,
Yeah.
there you go, like that.
Like this.
And then talk at the computer.
So now, if you imagine coming to the edge of the field.
Your voice is a little bit faint.
You have to talk at the
I
computer.
think I have to be facing the computer
Yeah.
for it to pick up. In fact, I think
The audio,
my mic is on my camera. So I think I have to speak that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hearing Catherine's voice quite faint.
Oh.
For you.
Sounds good to me. Is your volume up?
Off the path through the woods, you notice a clearing.
Can you speak louder?
Louder?
Lovely.
I'm here, but I'm going to try to distract my kids, so I'll be back.
Okay, Katie, are you going to be able to share a vision story with us?
I will try, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Katie's from the session with Leah Lamb that we're working on together for story.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, did that work?
Yeah, I think if you can just speak louder, it would be helpful. And there's Grace.
Good
And Mark
morning.
Wagon. And Joey. Hi, Joey.
Beautiful.
This is Gus. He wants you to know he is Gus.
Wait, that's Jeff, not Joey? What?
No, there's a million children here.
Okay, losing track.
All right, Gus and Joe, and I'm going to
Oh,
try to...
wonderful. And Ellen, Eileen, Grace.
We're just going to give people a few minutes to join, and then we'll get started.
Wonderful. There's Rick, also another storyteller who is actually doing a session in Now What After This. Wonderful. And is that Alice from let's see here, where's Alice? Yes, it is. Hi, Alice.
Hi, Mark.
Wonderful to see you.
It's great to be here. Hi, Katherine and Paul and everyone.
Oh, hi. Hi, Alice. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. We're just waiting for a few minutes while people just log in, and then we'll get started.
Great. I'll be right back, actually.
Okay.
Shulamith, hello. Suzanne. Serafina.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, so we're just going to give people a few minutes to join, and then we'll get going. Mark, do you want to just check if Jonas is getting in okay?
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of music to start with, so I'm just checking that our pianist is able to get in okay. We were just having a sound check with him. So if you're just joining, we're just waiting for a few minutes while people log in, and then we'll get started. One thing you might want to do, it's entirely up to you, but if you want to change your name, not change it, but just add to your name where you are, gives us a sort of sense of location. I'm just going to do that myself.
It's also fun to put that in the chat thread so that everybody can see that, and we'll have a sense of where everybody is. That's great.
It's entirely optional, but I always like knowing where people are. Great, and Jonas has joined. That's great. Yeah.
Hello.
So, while others join, I'll just get us started and just welcome you to the More Beautiful World 24. The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. What we're going to be doing today is starting off with a little bit. And by the way, if you could just put yourself on mute, if you're not talking, then we can all hear. That would be great. Thank you. We're going to start off with a little bit of music from Jonas Myers. Then Katherine is going to take us through a short ceremony, and then we're going to get into the kind of main part of today's gathering, which is going to be around stories from each of us of the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And it's really designed as, I put down stories around the global campfire. And the idea of this is really to start sharing stories with each other, with ourselves. Imagine around a global campfire, telling us stories from the world we're in now, or even the world that's to come, of that more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And we'll get into a little bit more about what kind of texture they've got in a little moment. But the idea of this is that the more that we tell ourselves and each other these stories, the more that world has a chance of becoming an ever larger part of our shared reality. So each story that we tell of the more beautiful world, either from a current experience now or for something that we hope to see coming into being, kind of optimizes for that story to become part of our dominant culture. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Jonas, who's going to start us off with some music.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you and others. I'm just going to do something that I try to do every day anyway, which is play an improvisation that kind of channels whatever it is I'm feeling in the moment. But I'm going to take a big deep breath first, and I join any of you. I invite any of you to join me, rather.
Thank you so much, Jonas. That was beautiful, and thank you so much for starting us off with that. Just to mention to everybody and welcome everybody who's joined. We are recording this. We do that in order that we can share that on with others who aren't here, and that's been our intention since we started meeting and planning the More Beautiful World 24 12 months ago. You're welcome to change your name and remain anonymous, and it won't be shown in the video feed. Please do indicate in the chat where you're calling from, and it also just gives us a chance to hear if you want to share. And as I say, just keep yourselves as you are doing on mute unless you're talking. These sessions that we're running during Now What are really designed to prototype something that really began as a journey 12 months ago. We had this idea of a More Beautiful World 24 hour live stream in order to share stories of projects, initiatives, and examples that were happening in our world right now of the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. Could be new approaches to older people living with younger people in kind of shared accommodation, new approaches to agriculture, new approaches to economics, and so on. And that was planned to happen on the 21st of June, 2021. And then because of events, we sort of been overtaken by events. So we decided that we would start the the channel, if you like, now because life requires it. And the intention really, as I said at the beginning, is to share these stories around a global campfire and telling each other those stories to each other. What we always do when we're having our More Beautiful World 24 sessions, we always start with a short ceremony. And we do that because I think we kind of collectively feel that there's, if you like, a lack of ceremony in our kind of Western society. And I think ceremonies are developing. And I think in the current period, new ceremonies are being developed almost in real time around us, things that we experience that we'll probably carry on doing. But with that, Catherine's going to take us through a short ceremony before we get into hearing stories from each of us. And Katherine, over to you.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. I'm just going to build a little bit on what Paul just said about ceremony and ritual. I do believe that new ceremonies and rituals are critical to develop and incorporate into our lives. I also believe that a respectful holding of the old is also critical. I believe that we need to go to the wisdom of the elders in the traditions that hold a deeper understanding of these things that we do. I say that because I'm going to drum, but I am not a shaman. and I want to make it very clear that I'm not pretending to be anything that I'm not, but I am hoping to encourage us all to incorporate rituals that speak to us, connect us, and guide us. So I'd like to start by sharing with you a poem that many of you have probably heard, but I believe that it's appropriate for now because it highlights three pivotal ideas that are critical in this time: the realization of the spiritual realm and the exploration of non-judgment and oneness. And the poem is called The Great Wagon. I'm only going to read a middle verse because it's my favorite, and it's by the Persian mystic Rumi. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. In this field, which is void of labels and judgments, there's absolute connectedness. As Rumi puts it, even the phrase each other won't make sense anymore when we realize our oneness. And with everything and with everyone else, in our own minds, we think we're separate from others, from animals, from nature. The truth is, we all stem from one source of energy. So as I begin drumming, just allow your attention to turn inward. So if that involves closing your eyes, that's often a good way to do it. This is going to be an exercise of the imagination. We influence our reality by way of the imagination. And I want to dedicate this journey that we're about to take together to remembering who we are and to the unseen ones who guide us. Turning your attention inside. Second. Sorry, technical difficulties. Stay inside. Try not to pay attention to my technical difficulties. There we go. Here we go. Stay with the rhythm of the drum, a heartbeat joining us all. Now imagine getting up and leaving the space that you are in and finding yourself on a path through the woods. Notice that you can see where the path ends because there is more light there. Keep walking. As you reach the end of the path at the edge of the woods, you come to a large grassy green field in front of you. As you reach the field's edge, you may notice others are reaching the field. Step out into the field, noticing the softness of the grass underfoot. Notice how it feels brushing the tips of your fingers. Alive. Now find your place and lie down in the grass. As you lie there in the grass, imagine being held and surrounded by a love that flows from a source that is nothing but compassion and truth. Imagine being in love in a way that consumes your existence and renders everything else, your ego, your identity, your material attachments, meaningless. Now imagine being surrounded and filled with the light and warmth of that love. Imagine knowing that love is a part of you. And never leaves. And now allow yourself to become filled with the sense that it is enough. Have all that you need. And when you have become completely merged with the love that is source, surrounding and holding you, that is you, bright and warm. Take the gratitude and the knowing and begin to return to your space. Out to the edge of the field. Back through the path in the forest.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Katherine, and thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. So we're going to start each of our MBW 24 sessions with a piece of music each week, and also with a ceremony. So the next part is where it's a chance to have some fun, really. So we were really designing this as a chance, if you want to be a kind of newsreader, either from today or a newsreader from the future, talking about a story of the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. Because one of the reasons why we wanted to create this idea of a 24-hour More Beautiful World live stream was to really counter what I call the media industrial narrative, the stories of kind of those things that are failing, things that are going wrong, things that are violent. And it's not to deny those realities, but it's actually just to say there are other realities around us. And there's already so many millions of stories of that more beautiful world. And I think probably we're all experiencing as well at the moment, despite the challenges of the times we're in, that there's so much new beautiful stories. So it's really a chance to either be a newsreader and tell your newsreader story and have as much fun with that as you want to, or just to tell a story from your own experience now of the more beautiful world, or from an imagined future. So, Zoe, would you like to kick us off? You have to come off mute.
I don't have anything prepared,
That's
so
okay.
maybe I can hear some and you can come back to me.
Okay, that's fine. I'll hold you to that. Who'd like to start us off? Okay, I'll start us off, and then you maybe get a kind of an idea of. This is the one that I prepared, which was so this is my news item from the future. Where's it gone? Yeah. Today it was announced that 2021 marked a dramatic fall globally in business travel, particularly by air. It was thought that the COVID-19 effect might be a temporary pause, but 2021 registered a 40%, apologies for Hector in the background, year-on-year fall from 2019 in corporate air travel, and a 25% decline in business travel generally. Behind this was business experience during the global pandemic of 2020, where people were working remotely, which got millions of people used to working without travel. That plus health concerns about travel, particularly internationally, related to this caused a significant shift in working policy that put climate change front and center. The airline industry has struggled to adapt to this shift, and as has the related hotel and travel industry, with major airlines that were household names now resigned to history. Industry commentators expect this pattern of local travel for work to increase in virtual working to extend through the rest of the decade. And now in other news. Okay, that was me pretending to be a newsreader from 2021. I was a journalist at one time, so don't think that's the benchmark and you've got to do something just like that. So who wants to play with this? Because we're playing with stories of either from today, things you've experienced in your own recent weeks and months in your own lives, can be small, can be large, or you can put yourself at any time in the future and you can share whatever you want. Okay, Katie.
So I brought a story and I'm hoping we'll be generous with the rules.
Very generous.
All right.
Always.
There's a little singing, and unfortunately Zoom has a delay reaction, so I invite you to join me. It's really simple singing, but don't go off mute because then it becomes cacophony, which is great, but distracting. So it starts with a prelude. which is that, you know how a compass points to magnetic north? Well, magnetic north, it's not a stagnant thing. It moves in relation to magnetic changes in the Earth's core. And apparently it's been moving at a significantly increased speed over the past decades. True north refers to the unmoving geographic north, but we're going to use it a little different right now. So imagine that you have an internal compass and it points to your higher self, the best version of you. And this is what true north refers to in this scenario. Now imagine that somewhat unexpectedly, true north shifted. It went from here to here. So super subtle, right? But enough that if you were still pointed here, you were no longer in internal alignment. You couldn't keep doing your same old thing, pointing in the same old direction, because the same old wasn't the same. You had to shift and find your new alignment. So in the ending, true north shifted and the grandmothers felt it. So they too shifted. Now, true north isn't a direction, it's an orientation, an alignment. So the grandmothers reoriented, they realigned, and each one felt a click right here in her heart chakra. The grandmothers clicked in, and there was a change in the air, subtle, almost imperceptible. It was like a breath on the grandmothers as they stood facing true north. It was like a blessing. And the grandmothers began to hum. Oh, oh, oh. And their bodies vibrated with the hum. And there was a crumbling, not really, but yes, really. A facade fell away, an illusion disintegrated. And in the distance, they saw a mountain. In fact, it had always been there, but now the grandmothers were attuned to its frequency. And they sang, oh, oh, and the mountain sang back, oh, oh. And the grandmothers began to lilt, began to sway with the song. They began to move a little bit forward, a little bit back, a little bit this way, a little bit that. And their arms caressed the air, and the mountain danced too. Not really, but yes, really. And the grandmothers danced a bridge to the mountain. And they made the steps up as they went. They knew about bridges, about transitions, about descents and caverns and birth canals. They knew how to bend without breaking, how to step around peril. They knew how to join together to resist and how to join together to prevail. Oh, true north shifted, and you felt it. And everything seemed off until you too shifted, until you clicked in. And then with an oh, it was all on again. And when the grandmothers danced past, you followed. You heard the song. You didn't know there was a mountain, or maybe you did. And the grandmothers danced backwards so they could look you in the eye and smile as you learned the steps. Except for that one grandmother who made faces to make you laugh, and that one grandma who always looked like she was scowling, but that's just her face. Back off. It didn't always look like a dance. Sometimes it looked like a stumble, like a fall. Sometimes that's what it was. And some ran away from the dance, some refused to dance, scoffed at the dance, got distracted and stopped dancing. You didn't judge them, you just danced. And some were too numb to dance, and you dropped love letters and daffodils and yellow gorse in their path as you danced by. And some denied there was a dance at all, but you saw the grandmothers. You heard the song. It didn't matter what anyone else said. You danced. And you added your own steps, and so did you, and you. And so the dance evolved into this diversity of movement and noise and gesture that somehow really worked. And as the grandmothers danced the bridge, they told stories and shouted riddles. They burned frankincense to cleanse and bless the passage because they knew about transitions. They encouraged and affirmed and passed around motherwort and mugwort because they knew about birth canals. They knew what it takes to make it through to the other side, what you go through before you emerge crying out in pain and joy. And they showed you how to move this way, to bend without breaking, how to move that way, to step around peril. They showed you how to join together, to resist, and how to join together to prevail. And then there was a squeeze, and you thought, oh God, I'm dying. And you were. Oh God, you were dying. You died there in that moment, surrounded by dance and song and grandmothers. And in that same moment, you were born. And it was all one. You were right where you had been. Only now, you saw the mountain, and you breathed in deeply, and you breathed out the song. Oh, oh. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much for that. That was beautiful. Monique, do you want to go there?
Oh boy, I don't know how I'm going to follow that. That was absolutely beautiful, Katie. So this is my first time attending these, and I guess the feeling here is is it to make up a story or share a story?
You can share a story from your own experience of the more beautiful world. It could be something you've noticed and that touched you, or something that you've noticed lately, or it can be something you just make up from a sort of imagined, wouldn't it be, what does the more beautiful world your heart knows is possible mean to you? You know,
Yeah.
whatever
Okay.
comes.
Maybe I'll just share some observations, and maybe I'll start kind of with the macro and then move into the micro more personally. And I would say there was a point in time where, not a very recent time, where when I use the word we, meaning the collective, the people, were busy, and we were busy with important things. And every person who was busy with an important thing. And that busyness was so important that it was the only thing that we could pay attention to. And so we got busier and busier and busier and busier and busier and busier. And then all of a sudden, we were forced to stop. But the mind and the body wanted to continue to be busy. And so you had this like migration of people trying to make sense and gather information and learn and share to keep the busyness going. And then we started to realize we the collective, that there's something bigger at play here. And I would say within the last 3 to 4 days, I've seen the busyness slow. I've seen families on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock riding bikes in their little nuclear family. I've seen dogs taken for more walks than they have probably ever been walked. I think there are a lot of happy pets in the world right now. I see children getting so much attention from mom and dad. And I see mom and dad also getting so much attention from their babies and their children. I've watched groups of people come together in community and start to work together in the interest of others that had never spoken a single word to each other before. And because there was a new cause or a neighbor that needed help, in my case, as I become, take this into the more personal, I have a 93-year-old neighbor living next door to me. And the amount of people from just the broader community that has now come to make sure that she is well looked after has enabled us to meet people, 6 feet away or virtually over an email or whatnot. But what's so fascinating is that this concept of oneness or aloneness, or as Katherine was saying, each other through Rumi, I think is now shifting. I think people are starting to feel the shift. I can certainly feel the shift. I'm sitting here with 23 people, having in a conversation that I would have never, because of my busy life before, I would have never made time for, and our paths would have never intersected because of the trajectory that we were on, that I was on, that we independently were on. And yet here we are in this beautiful moment in time as everything starts to slow and our attention draws nearer in different ways where we can be and experience and see and hear something brand spanking new. And I think that is going to continue to amplify. I think we're going to see new sides of ourselves that we never would have had the experience or the opportunity to see before. And I think in that is going to birth new possibilities. It's going to birth new networks of people. It's going to birth new ways to be busy in the next coming weeks and months. And through that, creating its own new habituated pattern in the mind that is mapped to something that is entirely different.
Thank you so much, Monique. So it's obviously the right idea is to make sure you've not prepared and then you share something as amazing as that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to go? Who wants to go next? Katie? Katie Levine?
Hiya.
I'm only calling you Katie Levine because to distinguish you from the other Katie.
That's fine. I'm good with that. Hi everyone. So basically I wrote down this little thing, but I might go off on tangent because I tend to do that quite a lot. So I wrote down the year is 3000. But I feel like that's just because part of me thinks, wow, like if this could be, the world that we live in, wouldn't that be amazing? So I've almost like pushed it farther away than maybe it could be. For the year is 3000. I'm 96 years old. Listen therapy to encourage our future generation to become more conscious and lead by passion and connection and love. The arts is taught as a therapy. And that's pretty much all I had. But I think from my experience as a teacher, music teacher, and having experienced many different of my own battles the past few years of inner self-isolation. I think this time has really made me think about, I guess, the raw pain that maybe is being brought up in each of us, and I'm very passionate about exploring that and encouraging everyone to not be afraid of that space, you know, and that actually it can take you to such amazing places, and through great pain and challenge comes such amazing growth, and inner growth, and your heart is more open to giving and loving, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's the more beautiful world that I imagine, is that everyone, that we understand that, I don't know, we can do amazing things with this time and really just open our heart chakras up.
Thank you so much, Katie, and
Thank you.
that was beautiful, and thank you for sharing in that way. Shulamith, you said you'd like to share, so you're on.
Thank you so much, Paul. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. If you want to turn your camera on, we'd be able to see you, but it's entirely up to you.
I'd rather not, because I've got internet connection issues, and I got you now on speaker view. So if you speak, you will give me a visual, means that you can't hear me anymore.
I don't know what you mean, but let's go with it.
Yeah, it's just that my fluctuation of I'm very far away, and I can see everyone in my heart, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. It is the 21st of the 12th, 21. It's the news widecast, and this is Shulamith from the vir-corona, the crown root zone of humanity, reporting life to the solar system cosmos collective. I am reporting here live from the most amazing event that has taken place, birthed about 2 years ago, it seems now, when in China something took a rise from the deep swell of Tao, the deep oneness of mankind, and it was known as coronavirus, until mankind discovered the global sunrise, Koro. Well, you see, corona means crown. And suddenly, over these months, as people were in so-called isolation, their eye and their soul and their sun came together, and it was a bit like beam me up, Scotty. They were right up there in this, what until then was only known around a solar eclipse, the white brilliant light of the sun, which human eyes couldn't see, only the heart. So I haven't got really time to tell you all the story, because I am watching, as we speak, the physical sun rising every moment anew over the globe. It's midwinter solstice or midsummer solstice, depending where you are. It's a solstice. It's a standing still all around the globe. So every human being now has learned to stand on the earth, like in the old Gaelic, where we stand, the place where we are. And from our crown, we reach up to the infinite space where our soul is coming from, the star, and there is that crown. And like the trees with their roots under the soil, fertilize, nourish each other. We human beings have learned with such rapid presence to fertilize each other with this joy and this love that comes from karuna, from our compassion in our heart rising. So now, can you see it? Yes, I can hear you. You were part of this quarantine arranging some time ago, because yes, in the whole cosmos, there are no other beings which kill their own life support system as the humans have done. But now they have found a way. They all stand still, upright, and they flow as they stand. Wherever the sun rises, they tone from the zenith. The finest is streaming down. Their light is shining, nourishing everyone else's light. And everyone can see it because their circumstances are beyond, up there. And then the sun rises. In multitude of tones, streams out, and the heart chakras of that zone, like an exploding sunlight, shining on the earth. And now, can you see it? The earth responds. Wherever that sounding and resonating happens, and the animals and the soil and whatever is there in that beautiful community of life is nourished and regenerated. I can't believe it myself. We have managed. Every human being has managed to do that. Can you hear that solar heart karuna wave going round this earth? And it's also an incredible gratitude to you, universe, who blessed us with water. We sing it back to you. We are the well. Thank you for welcoming us. I will now be quiet, and in the deep listening of your heart chalice, our heart chalice, we listen to each other, and we hear being heard by you, by each other, and the singing carries on, replenishing. Oh wow, every country, every bit of earth, rebirth. I bow out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shulamith. That was beautiful. And Serafino, do you want to share your story or your newscast or your reflections? You'll have to come off mute. Okay, so who would like to? Alice, would you like to share your story? Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if I have one yet. I'm just in terms of what is emergent. I mean, I'm so touched by the sort of deepening and fluidity of connectedness in so many ways, and feeling like people that I haven't spoken to in 40 years or something like that, or, you know, reaching out in all sorts of interesting configurations of, connectedness that doesn't bow to the vicissitudes of time. I'm being silly, but I'm just so touched, that these connections are not bound in those things. And then seeing so many expressions of kindness and in my neighborhood in several areas, along with other things, there have been like tables set aside with people bringing food and all sorts of things. And, I am telling people, if you need anything, come and, receive and bring what you can and take what you need. And this is in a little sleepy suburban, like, again, I've never seen so many children on bicycles and all of that. So that's the wonderful flourishing that there this what used to feel very normal when I was growing up. I mean, playfulness amidst all of the other layers of, challenge and sorrow and initiation. So I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm just babbling. I'm so struck, with the vividness and the aliveness. Like if I go outside and listen to these beautiful birds and, notice like this gorgeous flower that I would have passed by so many times. And it's very humbling to feel that, just deepening appreciation for for life and for impermanence and for beauty and all of that. And so, yeah, that's what I've been absorbing, and so grateful for that. And I would like to say one thing is that my brother and sister-in-law are in San Francisco, and they're doctors, and and our communication has been a little like fleeting with everything going on. But of course, so many people are out there giving in profound ways and courageous ways. And I don't know what I'm saying, but if it's not just them, but I find myself just thinking about that so much, and sacrifices that people make. And so,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alice.
thank you.
Yeah. Who'd like to go next? You can play and Suzanne? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna what do you call it? Go on the wing here? No, that's not right.
Wing it.
Fly by the seat of my pants. Wing it. Okay. So this is kind of an excerpt from a story I wrote called 300 Years from Yesterday. It's about this guy's an author, a famous author, well-known author, that he was having a writer's block and feeling very, very frustrated. And while walking in the park to try to release some of his tensions, he meets a young woman who leads him through a cave, kind of a tunnel. He reluctantly kind of goes with her, but she's very compelling, and so he does follow her. And when they get to the other side, he finds himself 300 years in the future, and she has come to fetch him, and she keeps saying that the elders sent her to fetch him. So anyway, to make a short story a little bit shorter, after spending the day with her in their village, where he's watching all the people around the village doing the work that they want to do, that they're passionate about. Like they don't do the same work every day. Some days they might garden and farm. Some days they might cook. Some days they might spin and weave. But it's just what they want to do. And so they're joyful doing it. And so he meets a lot of people doing that. seeing the children all playing and everyone in the village playing with them and taking care of them, watching over them as a village. They go and have dinner in the main community hall where everybody gathers and brings food, and afterwards they usually dance and play music and just really enjoy themselves. So after all of this, and he's speaking with this young woman, and he says, okay, so I get it. I get the point. You guys do it very differently than we do in my time, but why me? Why are you bringing me here? And she says, well, you know, you're a famous author, and you could write about us. You could write your next book about us and talk about how we do life differently and how we chose for life to be this way. We made these choices, and the people in your time can make those choices as well. So he goes back to his time, which is basically our time. And whereas he used to write very different kinds, the ones that made him famous, he now writes about this adventure, you know, that he's had.
I think we might have lost you there, Suzanne. I think Suzanne, I think maybe if you turn your camera off, we might be able to hear you.
Say that again.
I said, I think your line's breaking up, so I think if you turn your camera off, we might be able to hear your audio.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I am having a little trouble with stability. I live out on a peninsula and my bandwidth isn't that large. So I was basically finished, and so I'm not sure what was the last thing you heard, and then I'll know.
Oh, you're testing me now, aren't you? What was the last thing you said?
Anybody can jump in, and I just don't want to repeat it.
He said that she wanted him to know and to see it because he's a famous author. And then he went back, and then we kind of lost you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So he did go back to his own time, and even though he usually wrote very different novels, the ones that had made him famous, he did write their story. And you know, he began to look at life a bit differently as well. It wasn't that because this book came out that everything changed immediately, but it encouraged people that, yeah, you can make these choices for yourself. We do create our reality and our own future, and we can all do life in this very collaborative way, taking care of one another. The end.
Thank you so much for that, Suzanne. And that's right. I mean, I'm 62, and I don't think I've not known a moment in my life when the world paused and asked itself, what do we want to do next? Where do we want to go next? And you know, my sense is that the pause won't last forever. So making some good choices. Zoe, you said you'd like to go next. Well, after I said, would you like to go next?
Hi. I don't have a newscasting story, but maybe just share some of the things that I've noticed as far as being around people in their early 20s and what we've kind of been doing with our time in pausing our lives. And one of the like super special things that I've been holding on to is when like getting together, well, not getting together, but the people that we lived with, we make group meals together and just sharing that time together. And during that time we disconnect in a time that I feel like a lot of people are very connected on technology. taking the time to disconnect and put the phones away and put all the media away and just be present, be with each other, and sharing what was the high of your day, what was the low of your day, and even just taking that time to like reflect on your day. Even though we feel there's not a lot we can do, there is still a lot that we can do with our days. And I feel like a lot of people are getting stuck on, we're stuck inside, or we have to social distance and whatnot. There's still like go out for a walk or read or whatever it is. So just reflecting on your day every day and picking a point of what was the best part of your day, what was the worst part of your day, and how that can translate to the next day. So I think that just taking the time to be present and reflecting has been super powerful. Especially with so much media getting thrown at us and so much news getting thrown at us, just finding the point of being informed and too much and getting absorbed in all of it. And so just, yeah, taking that time to disconnect and reflect and be super present. And yeah, taking the time to cook and do things around the house that you normally put off, or just enjoying the day outside. I mean, we've had really crazy weather. We're in Montana, so yesterday it was sunny and we woke up this morning to a bunch of snow. So no matter what the weather is, just taking time to enjoy it. And I feel like I've been reflecting a lot on what the weather is like in the spring here, which for us is like the longest time of the year, because you have really nice weather and you're so excited for the summer, and then you wake up the next morning to snow and you feel like you have to start all over again. But with it being the longest time of the year where everyone's so anxious to be in summer, to be also stuck inside and kind of go through the spring, and like it from our windows or watch it from being outside with it has shown me a different side of spring, where normally I'm like, this is so long, it's taking forever, and I just want summer to actually appreciate it more. And I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, just I feel that it's super cool. I went from when all this started to being really fearful and scared, because I was absorbing so much into the media and getting so deep into it, that I wasn't able to be present. And now looking at it more of like a beautiful, powerful thing, which I've had a lot of talks with my dad, Mark. He's shown me that it's a pretty beautiful, powerful thing. And also just being part of this call and hearing from all of you just reassures me that it's a really beautiful, powerful thing, that the whole world is going through something all at once. And with what Monique was saying, I really resonated to what she was saying of how she was looking at the world and how the world is just acting right now in connecting in ways that we wouldn't have. And yeah, just slowing down, which feels really nice. So yeah, that is what I've taken from it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Sally, you want to go next? No, you don't. Mark. So we mentioned Mark, so
yeah.
over to you, Mark.
Okay, so hello everybody. Let's see, how do I do this? So what I want to share with you all is a story that comes through time, a newscast that started many years ago. And it's been communicated through us all in different ways. And it passes through time. So here we go. It started in the late 70s. And this particular newscast, I'm looking at the date, was March 13th, 2014. And it was titled 2030, View from the Bridge. The leprechaun conspiracy has matured. Humanity has made it through a critical phase of its evolutionary journey. Contrary to reactionary forces defending the resistance to change, the ability for a global migration to conspire, to breathe together, and revel in the noosphere, we have charted a sustainable course for all occupants of spaceship Earth. This excited state of mind in the age of electricity has brought with it the ability to extend our senses, tuning into the physical and metaphysical realms, igniting synapses of new perspectives. IdeaPod greenhouses have incubated a new economy based on the infinite resources of wisdom, which in turn have shifted our value system from that of scarcity and the fear of entropy to the empowered potentials of syntropy. No longer do we fight for might, nor battle for control. Quite simply, collaboration is key. We have unlocked the future and are free to wander forth.
Great, thank you so much, Mark. That was fantastic. And Pom, do you want to come and share your story? You'll need to come off mute if you want to do that. Maybe not. How about Carolyn? Okay. Eileen? Yeah.
Thank you. It's my first time being here. It's beautiful to see all your faces. I would like to share a vision that came to me perhaps 10 years ago, and I'm going to project it to January 1st, 2026. And this would make this the 5th annual Global Jubilee, which began on January 1st, 2021. It began at 12 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. At that moment, all human beings across the world, no matter where they were, what they were doing, rose as one body and then sat as one body. And as they sat, they released into the cosmos all fear, all anger, all frustration, all dissatisfaction, all sense of doubt, all sense of loneliness and longing and isolation and trouble. And in that moment, they opened their hearts. And as their hearts opened and the light of love flooded through their bodies, each being, when they felt nothing but that pure, perfect essence of love moving in their cells and activating their spirits, stood up and said, "I stand for love." And as each human being stood for love, they noticed the other humans around them who had not yet stood. And they gathered in circles around those who were struggling to release and let go. And they beamed that loving light of energy into those bodies until the others stood too and said, "I stand for love." And eventually, we don't know how long the first time took, but probably a while. But eventually, all beings were on their feet, in joy, in perfect love, and in perfect harmony, having released all of the past story, everything that had divided us, and determined to begin anew. And we made the conscious choice from that moment forward to do this once a year, to consciously reconnect our hearts center to center and to let go of everything that divided us, and to rediscover in that moment of joy what it meant to be one life, one spirit, one heart, one body, beating in unity with the song of the universe. And we still sing.
Great, thank you, Eileen. What a beautiful idea of an annual jubilee where the world celebrates. I mean, I could now imagine that happening. It would have probably been quite hard to imagine even a couple of months ago would have seemed quite idealistic, but today it seems kind of more possible. And Grace, Duke, hi, nice to see you. Would you like to share your story of the More Beautiful World, either from a newscast from the future or something you've experienced in your own lives of late?
Sure. I mean, is it improv?
It's improv. It's
improv. Yay!
Improv. You can
just in.
This just in.
This morning,
This just in.
It was reported that no one on this planet, human or animal, has died from hunger. Everyone has what they've needed. For the last 10 years, humanity has been moving more and more away from a limited and separate view of using money and scarcity in order to control one another. And we've realized that we can all be together as one family and take care of each other. And as an extension, the earth has started to be taken care of as well, as we have started to be more human and interacting with our world. We have started to leave such extractive things as simply trying to take advantage of one another. And as we've changed the way our energy is invested, we've invested in putting love and care into all the things around us. More and more. Tune in next time to find out how people are loving each other more.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And Ben, what's your story? Do I have to tell Ben to come off mute? Ben knows about the mute button.
Okay, here I am. No, I had to get my phone out of my pocket and unmute the phone. So, well, my story is from the present moment, where, as I did last week, I'm out for a walk in the woods and treasuring the connection with the natural world, although these woods bear many scars. I'm thinking about how the more beautiful world is a world where I'm able to feel everything. Suffering and grief and loss and sadness, anger and conflict, they're part of that world too. What's more beautiful is that when I encounter those feelings and the situations that give rise to them, my response is compassion, it's kindness, it's an opening and a deepening of my heart and my connection to others. And I guess I feel called to just offer some opinions or some commentary about this moment that goes along with that vision, which is that it's a privilege to even be able to pause and think about those things. And even as so many of us around the world right now are being given that opportunity, there are many who are not, and could not be on this call because they don't have access to the technology, or because they're on the front lines of the healthcare systems, or because they're sick, or because they're caring for someone, or because they're in so much pain that they couldn't bear the thought of even talking about the more beautiful world, because their hearts are so broken right now and so scared. And of course, as it is so often the case with disasters, it's the most marginalized, the ones who've been the most oppressed, the ones who have suffered the greatest under this paradigm of control that Charles Eisenstein has illuminated so beautifully in his writings, as have many others. Those are the ones who bear the brunt of a situation like this. And so I'm opening my heart to them in this moment. And I read Charles's new piece last night, The Coronation, in the middle of the night. I woke up and read it, and it's been sitting with me ever since. I'd read part of it, but I finished it last night. So I just invite you all to take a look at that. And with that, I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you so much. And yeah, it really brought home to me that there are so many groups for whom the pain or the work doesn't allow these stories to be shared. And yeah, thank you. Who I haven't asked. Rick, would you like to share?
Sure, I'll share briefly. It's been really beautiful to hear everyone's stories. Really amazing, made me feel really good. And also I appreciated Ben's kind of connection to the reality of people who are suffering as well. In my mind, I was kind of thinking, should I tell a story? Should I add to this beautiful experience? And then there's also this part of me that's like, I've been nudged today a little bit. I was on a call earlier around conflict resolution, and I'm looking out my window here, and it's like a group of townhouses. And I'm starting to dream about an event here, you know, because I'm doing stuff online, but I'm not as engaged with my local community as I'd like to be. And so that's what's sort of alive for me right now, this wanting to create some musical gathering that also taught empathy circles. So that's sort of what's on my mind, nudging me, like connect with people who are local here somehow during this time when we're slowing down, and try to, you know, weave a team together who could create that, you know. So I'm thankful for the kind of energy field to sit in and listen to everybody's heart songs. And let me see how much time. I'll tell you one thing I imagine as we're sitting. I imagine looking from the future, being kind of in like a grandfatherly role, and maybe in the future we've all experienced some shift that happened, and we could put it all in perspective a little more. And I imagine saying, that perhaps we started to appreciate the silence more. Perhaps we started breathing a little differently. Perhaps we started becoming aware of how connected we all are. And perhaps we started to sing a little more. But if you ask me how the new system was born, I imagine I would have a different tale to tell than maybe some other people. We all experience it a little differently. The way I recall it is that when the time came that we were said to be put back into the world, that we were safe to come together, that marker was put on a certain date, everyone gathered online in Zoom chats and reflected upon what we had learned and what could be. And then there was silence for a while after everybody spoke. And people sat, and I think it was a child who was in the background of someone's home who said, "Let's have a play day." And And that made people smile. And then someone else said, yeah, let's have a play day. And at least that's how I remember the future that has yet to come. So that's it for me. Thank you guys for creating this space.
That's fantastic, Rick. Thank you.
Oh, can I share something?
Yeah.
Really quickly. For me, as I'm tuning in to the present moment, one of the things that I feel is so important at this time is, I mean, speaking for me, and maybe some of you will resonate, is making amends. I feel like there's a way that there is this that's happening that's bringing our attention to what's not been working, and then we have these visions and ideas of what could work. And in this place of transition, I feel like there's this place for forgiving, that the things that have come before were lessons, and that we don't necessarily need to perpetuate them or to fix things, but just being present and allowing what needs to come through to find peace again through forgiveness or making amends of what we have done. So we're not then like slashing ourselves for like how bad we've been, but really looking at what we've done and becoming accountable by looking at the lessons and asking for forgiveness from Mama Earth, from Gaia, from the animal kingdom, from the community of humans, all our relations, our ancestors, all that have come before, and opening and asking for forgiveness, and then receiving the rain of blessings that comes with, in terms of connecting. Because, you know, the main thing that we've done is we've separated, right? And when and in forgiving, we reconnect. In forgiving, we're saying, oh, right, this is where we are and who we are, and this is how we're connected. And so sorry, please forgive. Let's remember this love that we all share. You know, so that's, I feel like, as we're moving through this transition and opening to that and finding wherever that might be in our lives. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Grace. And you'll be if I pronounce your name correctly, I think you said you'd like to share.
Sure. Thank you for having me on today. I was just listening in, and I just wanted to share something from the Tao Te Ching. I just opened up a random page from it and just decided to read it and trying to attune it to what the frequency of this meeting was, and to try to see what came from it. So it's chapter 17. I'll just read from it. In early ancient mankind, Tao has been in existence in one's true nature. Men possesses it without knowing. One then acts with virtue and honor, which is inferior to Tao. The less superior is to act with fear, and the least superior is to act with disgrace. This occurs because one does not have enough faith and hence has no confidence. The nature of Tao is distinguished by wordless teaching with the natural act of virtue without action. As such, people would act effortlessly and harmonize with the nature of Tao. And I just wanted to offer that as a offering too. And I also wanted to offer the teaching of Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian teaching, and it's kind of it doesn't really translate well to English, but the basic translation is like an offering to hold space for self, but also for everybody and for everybody in humanity, as a way to come together within terms. And it basically says it says, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And they say this over and over again as a way to resonate within the self, and to like, if you say this over and over again, and about different things in your life, it's a way to heal certain aspects of it, as a prayer, as a chant, like over and over again. And so I wanted to offer that. They call it Ho'oponopono in Hawaii. And so I wanted to offer that. And then one last thing, I'll go out with this, and it's a prayer song for my people in Northern California, where I'm from, as to offer to the community. Ho'ele yo, 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 kanese, o kanese, ho'ele yo, ho'ele yo, ho'ele yo, ho'ele yo, ho'ele yo, ho'ele yo, kanese, o kanese, ho'ele yo, 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 ho ooey, hooey.
Wow. Thank you so much, Pom. That was amazing, and thank you so much. And we're just about out of time now, but just to say that we'll be back this time next week for another More Beautiful World 24. And the idea is that our world is, the possibility of a more beautiful world is stronger now than when we started an hour and a half ago. We're not the only voices doing this. There are voices all over the world. And the more that we keep speaking our own voices around the global campfire, telling our stories and the diversity of the stories, and I think music's going to be part of it, ceremony and stories, and have a beautiful, beautiful time. If anybody wants to stay on the call, you're really welcome to, but it's been a pleasure to host today.
Like Paul said, we'll leave the line open if anybody wants to stay on, and if anything resonates or they want to continue on a conversation, I'll be here for a few minutes with the line open. Take yourself off of mute if you'd like to share anything.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, daughter.
I just want to say I love you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you all, everybody. I really appreciate this time together. It's beautiful. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.